Saha viryankaravavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Antaryascha Bahirvidutatimiram Jyotirmayam Shashvatam Sthanam Prapya Virajate Vinamatam Ajnanamungulayan Pashyan Vishvamapidamullasatiyo Vishvasya Pare Paraha Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantre Namaha. All right, we're going to read from verse 1 till what we covered. Okay, so we can all chant it together. Please stay with somebody who has a book. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kriti mahodadhau patana karanam phalam shashvatam gati nirodhakam ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam kaya vangmanaha karyamuttamam pujanam japaschintanam kramat jagata ishadhi yukta sevanam ashtamurti bhredeva pujanam uttamastavat uchamandata chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam ajyadharaya srotasasamam saralachintanam viralataf param vedabhavanat sohamityaso bhavanabhida pavanimata bhavashunyasat bhavasustitihi bhavanabalat bhaktiruttama ritstale manah swastatha kriya bhakti yoga bodhascha nishchitam vayurodhana liyate manah jalapakshivad sadhanam chittavayavaschitkriyayutah shakayordvayi shakti mulaka Laya vinashane ubhayarodhane Laya gatam punar bhavati no mritam. Okay, so this is where we stopped last time. Where are we in Upadesha Sara? We are in the topic of Ashtanga Yoga, or the yoga with 8 limbs. And we saw what the 8 limbs are, right? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Basically, these 8 limbs of yoga, they lead and they culminate to the state of Samadhi. Like the story I told today for Holi, right? That Lord Shiva is always going to Samadhi. It culminates in Samadhi. And how do they culminate in Samadhi? What is the tool that is used in Ashtanga Yoga? The breath. So a lot of times the breath is used. And when we control the breath, we are able to control the mind, because they are like 2 branches belonging to one tree. One branch is the breath, one branch is the mind. So when I slow down my breath, I slow down my mind. When I slow down my mind, my breath slows down. And the practice of pranayama, if we do it based on Ashtanga yoga, that has to be taught. It's not something we can learn on our own. But what we can do on our own is deep breathing, deep inhalation, exhalation. That we can do on our own, and we can even observe our breath. But if you want to get into something like Kapalabhati or alternate nostril breathing, etc., make sure you study under someone, because those kinds of exercises, they affect our entire constitution, our body constitution. But simple things like watching the breath, we can all do. You can still hear me. I think the mic went off, but you can still hear me, right? Okay. Now, in Ashtanga Yoga, although we may be able to control our breath for some time, what happens is when we come out of that state, again the mind is disturbed. Again the mind moves. So, the example given was of the birds. So, basically, if you are, let us say, if there's a hunter who has a net, and with the net the hunter catches all kinds of birds, and the birds seem to slow down and to be silent for some time, but when the hunter removes the nets, again the birds flutter all over, they fly all over. In the same way, our thoughts can be controlled for some time using breath, but after that, again they're all over the place. So this controlling of the breath is not a permanent solution. It's not a permanent solution. And that's why in verse number 13, which is the last verse we studied, there are two paths. One is called Laya and one is called Nasha. Laya means when the mind is absorbed, when it is dissolved. Nasha means when the mind is destroyed. So when the mind is dissolved and absorbed, it can be quiet for some time. It can be peaceful for some time, like when we go to a yoga class, when we do shavasana, when we do a mindfulness exercise. It can be peaceful for some time, but after that, boom, again the mind flutters. But when we talk about Nasha, Nasha means destruction of the mind, that mind actually loses its mindness. So we are talking about mindlessness, not mindfulness. Mindfulness is Laya. When we slow down the mind for some time, and again, mind becomes noisy, again we slow it down, again it becomes noisy. Nasha means that we actually falsify that very mind. We are able to negate that mind. And when we negate that mind, then that mind comes back as no mind. It's no more a binding mind. It's no more a binding mind. What does that mean? When I recognize that in reality my mind is actually consciousness, it is not a mind, because mind is a flow of thoughts. When there are no thoughts, consciousness alone remains. So the mind is actually not an entity, it's not a substantial entity, it's just a flow of thought. The nature, the real nature of the mind is consciousness. The real nature of the mind is consciousness, it's not thought. When I understand that, I don't have to spend my life controlling thoughts. I don't have to spend my life doing that. I can spend my life just being free as the witness of thoughts. See, thoughts will come and they'll go. A peaceful thought will come, it will go. An angry thought will come, it will go. A tired thought will come, go. A relaxing thought will come, it will go. But who are you? You are the one in which all the thoughts come and all the thoughts go. You are that reality in which all the thoughts rise and all the thoughts subside. And when you and I know ourselves to be that reality, then whether thought is there or thought is not there, we are fine. We are not bound by thoughts. And furthermore, we don't see this world from the realm of the mind. We see this world from the realm of consciousness. Holi is such a beautiful celebration, what we celebrated today. When we look through the view of the mind, all we see is color. So if you take a prism, white light. You put that white light and you shine it through the prism, what will you get? A rainbow, all different colors. The prism is the mind. Whenever we look at the world through the lens of the mind, we will see diversity. We will see different colors. We will see differences. But how about looking at the world without the prism? Just white light. We see unity. We see unity. So we're not looking at people. This is the deeper significance of Holi, which I could not share with the children because it's got a little more depth. We're not looking at people based on the color of their skin or the kind of religion they have or the kind of language that they speak or the place where they're from. We're not looking at people based on that. We're not looking at people based on their color. We are celebrating the unity of all colors. That white light, that's why we wear white in Holi. We wear white because we are celebrating the white that is the substratum of all the colors. And when we see life through that white light, it's beautiful. But when we keep focusing that this is red, this is orange, this is purple, all the trouble starts. And that's a troubling mind. So the practice of Vedanta is to take us beyond the mind. It's not a practice of quietening the mind. No. That's just initial stages. The practice is transcendence. So when we transcend that mind, when we realize that we are truly beyond the mind, and when we look at the world from the lens of consciousness, from the vision of consciousness, then our focus is always unity. Yes, our bodies may be different, our languages, our cultures, our religions, our backgrounds, color of our skin may be different, but you and I are consciousness. And we start transacting from that level of pure consciousness. So it's not enough to quieten the mind, which is called Laya. A deeper thing is to destroy the mind, which is called Nasha. Nasha. Okay? This is clear so far? Yeah?
This last statement you made, can you say it again about Nasha, please? It didn't come.
Sure. So quietening the mind is called Laya. But transcending the mind is called Nasha. Transcending the mind and realizing that I am beyond the mind. It's called Nasha.
I think initially when I heard Nasha as being described as destructive, I mean, this is my own prejudice that I thought of it as a negative.
Yeah.
And this is, beyond that.
This is beyond that. Correct. This is a constructive destruction. There's some destructive destructions, but there's also some constructive destructions. So it's a constructive destruction. That's also, we say Lord Shiva is a destroyer. He's a constructive destroyer. He destroys things so that new things can arise. Right? So now the topic that we're going to take from today is how to go from Laya to Nasha. I can make my mind quiet, but how do I start to transcend that very mind? Now we look at the next verse, number 14. So I'll chant and then you can repeat after me. Prāṇa bandhana līna manasam ekachintana nashametyadaha. Together. Prāṇa bandhana līna manasam ekachintana nashametyadaha. So, prāṇa bandhanāt, by the restraint of the vital airs. Okay. By the restraint of the vital airs, līna manasam, the mind gets absorbed. Adaha, this absorbed mind, ekachintanat, by the contemplation on that one, nasham eti, it goes to destruction. So the mind gets absorbed through breath. That's easy enough to understand. When we calm our breath down, the mind becomes quiet. But what does it take to destroy that mind? Contemplation on that one self. That destroys the mind. That helps us to transcend the mind. What does that mean? When we come into the realm of Vedanta, and we have discussed this topic several times, but it's good to just review it a little bit. We understand that we are not the body. Not the body. Because why? The body keeps changing. Correct? We get the sense that we are not the body because body keeps changing. So when we were young, our body was this big. And when we were toddlers, this big. And when we were teenagers, a little taller, right? And adults, bigger. Amidst all the changes of the body, you were there as you. You were there. You noticed all of the changes, correct? So now we understand that we are different from the body. Body is not us. We are the one who noticed all the changes of the body. Same with the mind. The mind keeps changing. We have different thoughts every day, different thoughts, different moods, different things that are happening in the mind. But I am aware of all of those changes. So I am separate from the mind. Same with our ego. We then identify ourselves with the ego. I am Shubhani, right? I am this person, I am that person. But even this ego, this personality keeps changing. But I am aware of all of those changes. So that I, who is aware of all of the changes happening in the realm of the body, in the realm of the mind, in the realm of the ego, that I contemplate on that. And that I is pure consciousness. That I is pure awareness. That I is changeless. That I we know as Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Contemplate on that. Let the body go. Let the mind go. Let the ego go. And when I keep contemplating on that, when I keep bringing that knowledge to the mind that yes, I am beyond all of this. I am beyond this body. I am beyond this mind. I am beyond this ego. I am beyond all of this. When I sit quietly and I see the truth of that statement, I see the truth of that statement, then I'm able to transcend the mind. Then I'm able to transcend the mind. So, Nasham eti, that destruction happens just by me contemplating on this. Can I contemplate on it one time, 2 times? No, contemplate on it so deeply that it becomes part and parcel of you. So just like right now, we are so identified with I'm a man or I'm a woman or I'm a father, I'm a mother. We're so identified with these roles, these identities. Our true identity, our first identity should be I am Atman. I am that pure self. That's how deeply we should contemplate on it. That my first identity is I am Atman. I am the pure self. And when this happens, then we have no issues facing the world. We are not going crazy with the world. We're not drawn too much from the world. We're not trying to run away from the world. There's no RIP. There's no resisting anything. There's no insisting. And there's no persisting for anything. We just remain as we are, and things come and things go and things move and things flow and everything works in perfect harmony without the ego, without the attachment of the ego. This is how to transcend that mind. Contemplate on the self which is beyond the mind. Now, what happens when we do that? What happens when we do that? What happens to the one who is able to transcend the mind? We'll look at verse number 15 now. Nashtamanasotkrishtayoginaha Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. Together. Nashtamanasotkrishtayoginaha Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. So, how do we understand this state? Transcending the mind, it seems like such a beautiful thing. How do we understand this? Nashtam manasaha, of the one whose mind has been destroyed. Utkrishta yoginaha, they are an exalted yogi, an exalted sage. Kim krityam asti, is there anything to be done for this person? Na. Yataha swastitim, no, because this being abides in their very own self. So what is the duty for the exalted yogi whose mind has been annihilated? None, since that being has gained abidance in the self. We might think that somebody who has transcended their mind, they become a stone. They become a stone and they don't do anything and they're immovable. It's not like that. See, there is a cycle of action. Okay? How does action arise? Action arises from desire. Because nobody acts without any desire, right? You won't just do something. If somebody asks you to do something, why? Why am I doing this? For what? Why should I do it? So every action comes from a desire. Now, where does desire come from? Desire comes from discontent. I am not content with who I am, therefore I want to do something to fill me up. And this discontentment is ignorance. I do not understand that my real nature is the self. I do not understand my real nature is complete. It's fulfillment. It's limitless. I don't get that. I take myself to be this limited body, this limited mind, this limited ego. Therefore, I desire for all things to fulfill me, to complete me, to make me whole. And because I have so many desires, I have so many actions. And the more desires I have, the more actions I will do in the world. And we go through life in this cycle. And guess what happens? We are discontent. We desire to be complete. We perform action. After we perform action, do you think we're going to be complete? No. We realize that this action didn't complete me. So therefore, perform another action. And then after we perform the other action, then what do we realize? It didn't complete me. And then perform another action. So this is called Sthali Pulaka Nyaya. This is a maxim. In Sanskrit, there's this beautiful maxim that, let us say you're cooking rice. You're cooking rice. Now you have finished cooking rice, boiling rice. How will you know that the rice is cooked? You take one grain, right? You feel it. If it's soft, it means it's cooked. Now after taking one grain, do you need to take another grain and to feel it? And here take another grain and feel it is soft. And then you need to, is it cooked? Is it cooked? Is it cooked? One is sufficient, right? But what happens in the world of action? Will it give joy? No, it didn't give joy this time. Okay, let me try again. Will it give joy? No, it didn't give. Okay, let me try again. What are we doing in the world? We're taking each grain, feeling it. This action didn't give joy. Let me try another action. It didn't give me permanent joy. Let me try another action. It didn't give me permanent joy. Let me try another action. And so our life goes on like this. And it will go on like this only. But when we slowly purify our minds, when we slowly begin to understand who we are, does that mean that we do not act? It means that we act, but not for gaining fulfillment. Because we're very clear that fulfillment is in here. So the actions are a natural expression. So if we look at the lives of our great saints and sages, why are they acting? They're not acting to become happy, to become complete, for recognition, for appreciation. They're not acting for any of that. That's why they don't have stress. They're acting because it's their natural expression. It's their natural expression to give, to love, to share. They're acting out of natural compassion and not compulsion. So their actions are much more beautiful than our actions. Our actions have a little stress, pressure, tension, insistence, worry, because we're hoping to be complete by that action. But this yogi is krityam, is ever satisfied in the self. And so their actions are natural expression. Very, very cool, very calming, very serene, and very giving. And that's why also they're able to do so many things. If we look at the lives of Swami Chinmayanandaji, after realizing, understanding this truth, he served the world and he was able to do so many things. And we're wondering, how did all of that come from him? It's because it was just so natural. It was so incredibly natural and worry-free. If it works, okay. If it doesn't work, okay. No fear. Just let it flow. So these yogis are krityam. They're content. They're not acting out of discontent. They're acting out of contentment. They're not working for joy, but they're working from joy. In the Bhagavad Gita, a very beautiful expression is given. Yastu atmarati reva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. The realized being has 3 levels of joy. One is called atmaratihi. Atmaratihi. They can revel in that self. We revel in objects. We like to revel in things that are beautiful to see, that are lovely to taste, nice to smell, good to hold. But they're reveling in the self. Atmatriptaha. They are ever satisfied in the self. So they don't need anything else. Whereas we need things from the world, we want things from the world. They are ever satisfied in the self. It's like after eating food, after eating a full, lovely meal. Let's say you went to a nice restaurant in New York City and you had a lovely, lovely, fulfilling meal. After that, and you burped also, you're full. If somebody gives you your favorite ice cream, ideally you shouldn't take it because you're full, right? But you still take it. That's our problem. But a realized being, they're ever full and content. So they're satisfied. They don't need anything. They don't need anything. They're content with the self. And they are santushta. Santushta means there's nothing that can add or detract from their happiness. So if somebody had $1 million and you took away $10 from them, ideally they shouldn't crib. They may, right? Or if they had $1 million and you gave them $10 on top of that. If it was just $10, I really don't need it. I don't want it. The same way, a realized being has that happiness and the bliss of the self. So there's nothing that can detract from that. There's nothing that can add to that because they've realized their infinite nature. So this is called Utkrishta, Utkrishta Yogi, exalted Yogi. Krityamasti. They're fulfilled. In fact, our scriptures say they don't have any duty to perform. They don't have any more duties. You can't make them do anything because they're above that realm. They're not seeking anything from the world, so they have no responsibility towards the world. But the beauty of these exalted yogis is that they spend their life serving the world. Because it is out of gratitude to every single being that has helped them realize the truth, they spend their life serving. And their service could be in absolute silence. Their service could be in devotion. Their service could be in action. But they spend their lives just like that. Because they are swastitim. They are abiding in the self. This is what happens with transcendence. A question might come, but how can you give me another way to transcend this mind? Let us say that I'm not able to just contemplate on the self in that way. Can you give me another way to transcend the mind? Sure. Verse number 16 now we will see. Drishyavaritam chittamatmanaha. Chittvadarsanam tattvadarsanam. Together, Drishyavaritam chittamatmanaha chittvadarsanam tattvadarsanam. So here it says Drishyavaritam, that chittam, that mind which is Drishyavaritam, which is withdrawn from the seen objects, Atmanaha Chittvadarsanam, has the vision of itself in the form of consciousness. And this is called Tattvadarshanam. This is called vision of reality. So, Chittam, that mind, Drishyavaritam, Varitam, that is withdrawn from Drishya, the seen objects, chitva darshanam, it has the darshana, it has the vision of consciousness. What is the vision of consciousness? Atmanaha, it has a vision of itself as consciousness. And this is called tattva darshanam. Darshanam, the vision of tattva, reality. The mind withdrawn from objects sees itself as consciousness. That is the vision of reality. This is quite easy to understand. One definition of thought, or the mind, I should say, one definition of the mind we saw is the flow of thoughts. So whenever there's a flow of thoughts, that's called mind. But another definition of mind is consciousness plus an object is the mind. It's a thought. So pure consciousness, when it's associated with an object like a book, there's a book thought. Pure consciousness, when it's associated with a microphone, there's a microphone thought. When it's associated with a chair, there's a chair thought. So what do I have to do as a seeker? Let go of all of those objects. Withdraw from all of those objects. And when I do that, consciousness alone remains as itself. I don't have to bring consciousness from anywhere. Consciousness remains as itself. A very simple example is this. Everybody sees the room here? Yeah? Everyone sees the whole room. Is there space in the room?
Yeah.
But is your attention on the space? Where's the attention? Elsewhere. On the altar, on the chair, the microphone, the table, the carpet. Attention is elsewhere, right? So we don't understand that there's space. We forget, in fact, that there's space. Now let us say we took everything out of this room. Everything, and I mean everything. All the tables, all the chairs, the rugs, the altar, the microphone, everything out of this room. And you were just looking at this room. Would you be able to notice the space? Yeah? Would it be more evident or less evident? More evident. Before, when the whole room was surrounded by things, was there space? Yes. And now also when everything is removed, is there space? Yes. But what is the difference? When everything is removed, it's more evident. And you really get the sense, oh, this is space, right? Like when you move into a new apartment, space. The same way, when we are sitting quietly, how do I know? How do I know that I am pure consciousness? How do I know? You keep telling me, the books keep saying it. How do I know? When we're sitting quietly, withdraw from all of the objects. Withdraw from all of the objects. Drishyavaritam. Let all of the objects go. And when we start withdrawing from all of the objects, what is there is consciousness alone remains as it is. You alone are there. You are there without any object. You are there without any person, without any space, without any time, without any name, without any form. You alone are as you are. That is called the vision of reality. It's the vision of reality. So once we are able to withdraw from all the objects, we're actually able to remain as we are. And it's evidently clear. It's evidently clear that my nature is different. It's beyond the body, it's beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, ego. My nature is just pure awareness. Stay there. Stay as you are. And the more that I'm able to stay with it, as I said, when I come out into the world, I don't have too much fuss. I don't have too much fuss. What is fuss? fuss means this is good, this is bad, this is nice, this is not nice, this is that. I keep seeing this pull of duality. This hot and cold, soft, hard, good, bad. I keep seeing this duality. But when I come out, as I said, as that consciousness, all I see is just consciousness. Everything in the world, let it move, let it appear, let it do what it has to do. It's okay. Let the appearance of duality remain. There's no insistence on moving it too much. It's okay. Because there's a deeper reality underlying everything, and that should be my focus. That is my nature. So, drishyavaritam chittamatmanaha chitva darshanam tattva darshanam. With these verses 14, 15, 16, we conclude the section of Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga, if we want to see, it started from verse number 11 to verse number 16. When we get back, we're going to go into now Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. So we have completed yoga of action, karma yoga, yoga of devotion, bhakti yoga, and yoga of meditation, Ashtanga yoga. And then we will get into Jnana yoga. Does anybody have any questions about what has been covered so far? Yeah?
I do, but I don't know. When you say we're more than the mind,
Yeah.
I understand that. Like I truly, I understand it, meaning I know that. I experienced it. But what do we do with that? Okay. Yeah. I don't
Correct.
know my question. It's like, but the question is what do we do with that, knowing that we're more than our mind?
Right. That's a very good question. So you're saying that you're able to understand that you are beyond the mind. So what do you do with that knowledge? what use is it of to you? What use that is we don't get so affected and bogged down by the mind. See, when the mind is feeling immense sadness, what can you and I do? Withdraw from it. The mind is feeling sad, but I am different from it. I'm different from it. The mind is feeling sad, it's going through its thing, but I am not that. Otherwise, you and I will be so incredibly affected by that sadness. We'll be so affected by that sadness that we will wallow in it. Mind is feeling pain. Sometimes we feel pain, we feel hurt. What can you and I do? Withdraw from that. I am not that mind. The mind is feeling pain, but I am not that. I am not that mind. It's feeling pain, it's going through something. Withdraw from it. And the more we are able to withdraw, those feelings diminish. They reduce because my focus is not there. See, like a child, and I think I've given this example before also, a child is playing a game, playing an intense game of, let's say, soccer, child's game, intense game. Now the child is playing, if the child fell down and they hurt themselves. It's a big bruise. But at that time the child doesn't know anything. He keeps playing and playing and playing and enjoying and everything. After that he comes to know, oh my goodness, I got a bruise, I didn't even know. What was the trick of the child? The trick of the child is the child did not identify with the body, the child identified it with the game. And so the child did not get affected by this. It happened. Not that it won't, it happened, but didn't feel it. Didn't get so affected by it because the identification was at a higher level. In the same way, whenever we keep lifting our identification to the higher level, we don't get affected by the lower level. We don't get affected by the lower level. So when the mind is going through ups and downs, withdraw yourself from that so we don't get affected by it. Some might say, but the mind is feeling happiness, why shouldn't I feel it? Why shouldn't I? Happiness is a good emotion. It's a great emotion, but it also ends in sorrow. Because after that, we get sad that, oh my gosh, this happiness didn't last for so long. Now, another way to look at it. When we take ourselves to be a parent and this is a child, too much identification is there. Too much. So when the child is going through things, the parent is also going through things. Lift your identification that this is not my child. This child has come through me. I am not the parent and this and that. I am something deeper. I am an instrument of the divine will. I am a caretaker of this child. Now you raise yourself to the higher level and you'll see that it'll be easier to take care of that child, to love that child, to be with that child, because now you've raised your identification to a higher level. Even higher than that, raise your identification to I am that pure self. And yes, this child is there, this child is with me, this child is there in my family. I am the pure self, and the child's journey in this life is to evolve, to grow. There will be some sense of detachment from that. So what to do when I know that I'm not the mind? Detach. One is able to let go, one is able to detach. If we stay in the level of the mind, there's too much identification, too much attachment, too much sense of control and insistence. Is that clear? Yeah.
One is a question and the second one is a struggle that I'm having in my mind when you say this, like detach. It almost feels like give up responsibility.
So that's a wrong notion.
Yeah. So that's the part I'm struggling with. Is it like?
See, the detachment is the greatest sign of love. And this is what we fail to understand. When we are attached to somebody, okay, so I'm going to give the example of a child again. When the child is wallowing in sorrow, what happens? I also wallow in sorrow because I call it love. It's attachment. My child is wallowing in sorrow. I'm also wallowing in sorrow. But when I'm able to detach a little bit, my child is going through sorrow. What is my thought process? My thought process is not, I'm also going through sorrow. I'm feeling so bad. I'm feeling so desperate. My thought process is, my child is going through sorrow. What can I do to lift my child up? When we become attached and we go through those same emotions, both are drowning. And what is the focus there? I'm also in sorrow. I'm also feeling bad. I'm also feeling terrible. But when we detach, my child is going through sorrow. How do I lift my child up? That's called love. That's called love.
But then as part of that exercise, where you may, at least I, end up asking a child or expecting a child to so that the child is not going through that pain or sorrow in future, would start dictating or like pushing to say, do this, don't do that.
So you can't do that.
Then, yeah. So then it's like my ego coming in and saying, you need to do this.
Correct. Again, you see, we call it love, but it's the ego. That you need to do this so you don't go through pain, because if you go through pain, I'm going to go through pain. How is that the way to raise a child? No. The main focus is, this is my child. What is the best way this child can grow?
So I had another question. Because you talked about karma yoga, bhakti yoga, ashtanga yoga. Is it fair to assume that to get to ashtanga yoga, karma yoga, and it's like a sequence? You can get to ashtanga if you have sorted out on karma yoga and bhakti yoga?
You can get to Ashtanga Yoga directly also, but the actual truth in spiritual life is we all have to start with Karma Yoga. We all have to start with Karma Yoga. This is drawing out the spiritual life so that we have a vision of what it's like. We have a vision of the path. We know where we're going. But the real raw truth is we all have to start from karma yoga. Because that we're not able to do. We're not able to do. So we all have to start from karma yoga. Right? Yeah.
So does contentment help? If you reach a level of contentment, does it help to go to the next level?
Yes. Reaching a level of contentment helps to go to the next level because the mind now is settled. It's settled. Otherwise, it's grappling over one desire, another desire, another desire. Then it's difficult to go with it. Right? Okay. We'll stop here. So I wish all of you a happy Holi. And as mentioned, think about the depth of our scriptures. Always focus on the unity that brings us together, rather than the diversity that takes us apart. Focus on that unity. There's a beauty in every single color, in every single religion, race, culture. There's a beauty to that. Focus on that white light, that unity. That is our culture. Right. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.